Andrew calling in from Florida. Andrew, you are live on Truth Wanted. What's going on?
Hello, gentlemen. Greetings.
Greetings. How do you do?
What up?
What it do? Yeah, I think religion has harmed both of you, specifically Christianity. And I just want to shout out that just because one didn't work for you, you should at least consider the others first. You can't give up on the divine fully. It's like giving up on love just because you had a bad relationship. You can't give up on romance. There's other people out there. So I just want to share maybe Taoism or Buddhism.
Okay. So my first reaction here to this is, what evidence do you have to support the claims of these other religions? Because me leaving Christianity opened me up to this idea of having evidence and having good reasons to believe in the things that you do. Before I left Christianity, I just believed in things because people that I trusted told me to believe those things. So now I look at it in a different way, and I want to know the reasons why I should believe in certain things, or why I should believe in a God just in general. And I really want to know what the evidence is that points to that God. So if you believe in God, can you point us to a particular argument or a particular reason as to why we should believe in a God in the first place, regardless of what definition that you're talking about?
I think for Andrew's defense here, and he'll come to it on his own, but I think he is a Taoist. I don't think he's actually a Christian.
Oh, no, I don't think that he's a Christian, but he seems to be like arguing for some kind of God belief in general, like as far as like supernatural
divine. Let's go to you then, Andrew. Do you actually believe in a God, or what do you mean when you say the word divine?
I don't believe in a higher literal being anymore. I just don't see how that's how nature works. I think Christians have personified nature, but I do believe in ultimate reality. I'll call that the divine, whatever that is. I'm not really sure what it is. So I can't say for sure that definitive that there is something or there is not something. So that's why I'm more agnostic with it. So Taoist or Buddhism for me makes more sense to try to understand what is out there, if there is something.
Okay. So let me ask you this then. Why does the Tao Te Ching, or I don't know which texts you follow in your practice, but like what makes these texts more reliable and more informative about reality than, say, like the Bible?
They make certain claims about nature that seem to, about reality itself, that seems to me make more sense and interpret the world better than the Bible does. Like the Bible presupposes that there is a judgment and everything will be judged based on morality, but that's not really how nature works. So
okay, well let me ask you that, then how do you know that it's not how nature works? What gives your insight more credibility there?
Can you repeat that again, please?
Yeah, so you're saying that Christians have a certain prescription about nature, and particularly about the judgments of moral claims. You're saying that's not really how the world works. That's not really how nature works in particular. I'm wondering how you know this. Like, why is your insight more meaningful? Like, how is it more? How does it correspond with reality more than, say, the Christian worldview? Andrew, you still there? All right. Well, I think we lost you there, Andrew. Darn, that was going to be a good conversation. Oh, man, the call is dropped here. I don't know if that was on Andrew's end or what, but man, that was going to be really interesting there because, Eastern texts, I mean, I'm about as familiar as anybody else with them. I'm not going to say I'm an expert. I'm definitely not. I've read a little bit about, when I was in college, I knew some Hare Krishnas, so they gave me a book about some of how that works. That's probably the most in-depth research I've ever done on most Eastern texts besides, the baseline. I'd be curious if Andrew has a better take on reality, if he can tell me more about nature, right, that I don't know about. then I would really want to hear it. But I don't know. What'd you think about that one, John?
Well, yeah. So I feel like I don't really have a big issue with more, I guess, secular or atheistic leaning paradigms. Like, so because like Buddhists and Taoists and whatnot, like you can consider them to be secular,
Sure.
not really concerning like a divine God figure or anything like that. So like I don't have a problem with them as a philosophy. I mean, I personally take humanism more as a philosophy as far as how to view the world and everything. And so I don't really have a problem with people that aren't advocating for like a magical wizard in this celestial realm that dictates our lives. Like if you're not advocating that, then I really don't have a problem, because you're not telling me how I should live, but you're saying, hey, this is a way to live, why don't you consider it? And I'm like, sure, I could consider it, and maybe I could work in some principles that y'all teach, but whether or not I would like join as an actual Buddhist, like I don't see me taking on that kind of label, but I do see myself applying certain concepts that you might employ. And so, I mean, that's not me saying that Buddhism or Taoism or any of these other secular type of religions or religious thought is wrong or anything like that. I'm just saying that I'm not willing to label myself as part of those particular persuasions, I guess is the best way I can explain it.
Yeah, we have Andrew back with us now on the line now. Andrew, can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can. All right, good. We got that sorted out now. All right, go ahead, Andrew, because I know John and I just said a couple of things there, so we'd love to hear your response.
Were you guys talking behind my back? No, I'm just kidding.
Oh, okay. I was like, hopefully you were able to hear that, but.
What was the question again?
Sure. Well, yeah. So let's go back a step, because we kind of went on a couple different rabbit trails there. But what my question was in particular was, you said that Christianity has judgments, right? There's some sort of judging force about our moral presumptions rather, and you don't think reality works that way. You don't think nature works that way. You think nature works kind of a different way. Based on some of these teachings. So I'm curious, like, how can we demonstrate that reality works one way or another? In other words, how do we know that your worldview is true over the Christian worldview or the Zoroastrian worldview, et cetera?
Yeah, I mean, can anybody know for sure? We don't know. We just have to look at various claims of these religions, and I just see Taoism making claims that are more in alignment with how the world works. Like not everything will be held into judgment according to Taoist teachings. And the concept of judgment itself came from certain species. But when you look in nature, like through billions of years in the universe itself, there's no concept of judgment. Everything just is, and everything just flows how it is. And life is temporary, and it's not trying to deny death like Christianity does. It just says death is just a natural part of life, and that's true. And that can be proven empirically and scientifically. The interconnectedness of all things, which is a pervasive theme of Taoism, that can be proven scientifically as well. All of us are an aspect of the universe.
So if I can ask, like, why is it important that we identify as a particular religious affiliation for you? Like, I may not disagree with anything that Taoism teaches or the philosophy of Taoism. I may even implement some aspects of these things, but it seems to me like you think that's me rejecting Taoism rather than embracing Taoism or any of these particular philosophies in my own way without accepting the label. Why is it important that I accept the label of a Taoist rather than just implementing some of these ideas?
It's not important if you accept the label. It's just my personal suggestion that religion, we don't try to convert others. We just like to share it like a pot of gold. If you don't want it, you don't have to have it. You're going to end up dying anyway, like all of us. I mean, I want you to live a better life. I think it will help most people, but you don't have to do it. I mean, you don't have to have a label. My point.
Right. I mean, I get that, but I guess I'm a little confused because I figured you called in because you disagreed with us not identifying as a Taoist or not identifying as any particular secular type of religion. And so, like, you think that we just reject the principles of any secular religion that may exist. And so I guess I'm just a little confused as to what you're calling in to argue for, considering that, you know, all we have said is that we don't believe in a magical wizard. And it seems like you're saying the same thing, but you seem to be resistant to us not identifying as any of these other religions. I guess I'm thoroughly confused as to why you're calling in the first place and presenting yourself as being, against our position.
That's a strong word. That I'm against your guys' position. I mean, I'm saying I don't believe in a literal being either. So I kind of agree with you guys there. I kind of share that position too. But I guess I called in because I feel like you guys are giving up. It's like giving up on love. Like, I feel like we don't have to lose the good parts of the secular religion, though. That's all. Maybe it's probably
how are we?
Background, I guess, because I want to share it.
Yeah. What do you think? What are the good parts of the secular religion that you think we're missing out on?
Qigong and meditation. Practicing meditation these practices allow you to embrace reality as it is, and it really helps with depression. These yoga practices and these Qigong and Tai Chi, they really enhance your experience. And just interpreting the world through this framework really gives you a peace of mind. The majority of people who have tried it, it's actually worked for them.
Yeah.
How do you know that I don't meditate?
I was gonna say you can't see it right now because you're on the call, but I'm pulling up my Calm app right here on my phone. I've definitely done some meditation sessions before. I can't say I've tried Tai Chi, to be fair. So I don't know how that would work for me, but yeah, there's I mean, like John said, we've definitely done some of that stuff for sure.
Yeah, I mean, you can do all this whether you believe in the supernatural or not. I think it'll help you guys a lot. Religion has so many positive elements. It's not all toxic, you know, but.
And speaking to meditation, right, that's not a religious act, I would argue. I mean, let me clarify. It can definitely be a sign of religious devotion. It can also be a sign of religious practice. But meditation, by far and away, has had very proven benefits in a completely secular fashion, and is practiced by secular people all over the world. I don't think you have to be religiously inclined in order to gain any benefits from meditation in particular. So again, like we're kind of showing you like, hey, look, we've done some of this stuff. Like we're definitely doing it. But what are we missing, I guess, is the point here. Like if we can do something that shows empirically that there are benefits for, which meditation does, yeah, we can implement that. There's no reason for us as atheists to say, oh, we have to cut ourselves off from what these religious people do because we're not religious anymore. So we have to keep ourselves separate. That's definitely not true, right? If there's benefits that can be demonstrated to help people, like growing in senses of community, for example, which is one thing that religious people do, but also other kinds of groups do, or meditation practices, or just, you know, these kinds of self-reflective practices in general. We can definitely incorporate them into our lives. I don't know if we need to be religious in order to do that.
Yeah, that's like, I can own a car, right? Why do I need paperwork? Why do I need a lease? I can be a citizen. Why do I need a passport? You know, like I can like I can make love and start a family. Why do I need any paperwork or lease agreement? I mean, you can do many things without structure and without formats, but the structure and formats enhance the experience.
Okay, that's an interesting point. Like, I guess I could see how that could be true. Under having some sort of theming to your meditation, I guess, in a way. But I don't know. I guess I'm interested in more of what's true more than anything, right? Like, if I'm doing a meditation session, but if I'm doing like what the Hare Krishnas would do, right, which is, you know, repeating the what's it called, the mantra, right, the Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, you know, doing the whole thing. I mean, like, yeah, maybe I would get something specific out of that, but like, I don't know, I could also get the same effects from not doing it in a themed way, I guess. Like, I don't know if the sort of quote unquote paperwork you're describing really is as necessary. I don't know, John, what do you think?
I mean, I feel like there are a lot of practices that are labeled as religious that aren't necessarily religious. So
Yeah.
I feel like there are plenty of values that I hold that other religions hold, like even the religions that we're talking about here. But that doesn't make me religious in that sense. Like, I guess I take being religious as a different thing. Like, being religious is being dogmatic. Being religious is adhering to a particular dogmatic set of rules, set of beliefs. And I feel like I am more or less developing my own worldview of things, and I'm developing my worldview regardless of a religious definition. Like, I'm developing my own worldview that I agree with and that agrees with me and what I'm currently thinking. And I don't feel the need to label it. And so I kind of feel like the caller Andrew, I guess I'm still very confused as to what he's actually calling in to, I guess, not necessarily argue about, but to discuss, because like, I can hold a number of Buddhist or Taoist values, but not be a Taoist. And I don't know why it's immediately taken as being anti-Taoist or anti-Buddhist to say, I don't believe in a magical creator of the universe or a magical God that controls our reality. I don't feel like any of those things. Okay.
I didn't think you were anti-Buddhist or anti-Taoist. I never said that.
No, I didn't think that you said that, but like the fact that you called in and I guess the initial feeling I got was that you thought that we were disregarding Taoism or Buddhism or anything like that. And it's not that I'm disregarding any of those things, but I just feel like my values coincide with those things, but I don't feel like identifying as those particular religious beliefs or religious practices. And I guess calling in to say like, oh, why don't you try these things? Seems to indicate to me that like, oh, well, maybe you haven't actually tried those things, and maybe you should be those things if you identify with those things. But I think that you can identify with those principles without actually accepting the label. Does that make sense?
You can run a business without getting an LLC, without paying taxes. You can trade without having a website. You can do all of that. But I'm just suggesting there's just some better ways to do things with a format and a system.
There is a claim inherent to that, right? You're saying your way is better, right? So like, how is that make it better? Like, what are we missing?
Better in some ways. Better in some ways and worse in others.
Okay, can you give me an example of how it's better?
Having a structure and a framework allows you to create meaning in a systematic way, because we're myth-making creatures. It's just how we evolved for tens of thousands of years. And that's why religion spans cultures and has outlasted civilization itself. So religious type practices, ritualistic type practices, it just enhances the human experience. And in a way that yeah, you can have some of the benefits without it, but just look at humanity through all history. We somehow always found a way to enhance our lives with some type of ritual or religious practice. And to make it dogmatic is toxic. I agree with you, but that's not the only way to do it. That's why I think Christianity has given religion a bad name.
I see that, but at the same time, even going back to the Taoist principles that you mentioned before, right? Like, nature kind of is and always was and is going to be there even without us. Like, just because some humans at some point of time ascribe myth to particular things, I see that as a factual sort of argument, like, hey, this is a thing that has happened, but I've yet to see what makes that particularly beneficial for me. Like, why do I have to make a myth about something? Why do I have to like mythologize something and talk about things that just objectively aren't true? For example, I don't know, like, why do I have to like create something out of thin air rather than just deal with the reality that I'm working with and maybe work with the paradigms I'm given? And I'm not saying I'm an objective viewer of reality by any means whatsoever, but why do I have to understand my life through through a particular religious practice in order for it to be more meaningful? I struggle with the benefit there.
Well, I mean, why call it English? Like, you don't need a label. You can communicate in various languages. Why do you have to call it English or Spanish? Giving it a name,
but I mean,
English. Yeah. Well, I mean, English and Spanish are different languages. So I mean, like, they're constructed differently. The grammar is different in both languages. So like identifying both of them as English and Spanish are important to being able to understand the words that are being said. But if you're just saying that like Buddhism, Taoism, or Taoism, any of those things are very similar in nature and there's no reason to like put a label on them, I don't understand why it's important in the first place to put a label on them. Like, I feel like you're kind of in a catch-22 situation here, because on the one point, like, we're saying, yes, we agree with these certain positions that these religious doctrines hold on occasion, maybe not the entire position. Like, we agree with those, but at the same time, we're not willing to label ourselves as part of those religions because we just merely agree with those positions, certain positions in those religions. It just kind of feels like you have a problem with that. It kind of feels like there's an issue with us not identifying with these religions and just merely accepting some of the propositions that are entailed by these religions, and comparing that to languages as far as like English and Spanish and all that kind of stuff. Like, there's literal grammatical differences between both of the languages, and we don't see that kind of difference in the topics that you're talking about as far as the commonalities between these types of religions. So I'm wondering if you can sort of, I guess, tell us what's the difference in accepting the label and just accepting portions of the doctrine.
Tough question. My baby woke up and started crying. I'm sorry. I got to cut this short. My apologies.
That's okay, Andrew. We've been talking for a little while, so I have no problem with that. But we do have some other people we want to talk to. We'll go ahead and switch to some other folks. But we really do appreciate you talking to us. This has been a really good conversation so far.